You talked about earlier. You had shouted out, Pusha T for putting you in contact with the woman who would help you, get your father out.
Yeah.
What was or how far do you all's relationship go back? Like, how did you and him link up?
So me and Pusha relationship go back now at this point probably like 13 years at this point. You know what I'm saying? I was always a big Clips fan or whatever the case may be. And on my Twitter sometime I would just, you know what I'm saying, post a tweet from him or Miles, a lyric, you know what I'm saying, just being my thoughts, you know what I'm saying. Most people follow me on Twitter. When I first got on Twitter, that's probably all I used to tweet for real, or Jay-Z quote, or Pusha quote, Miles quote, or whatever. But anyway, because I felt like they said the things that I be thinking, they represented the world that we was from, you know what I'm saying? And I always appreciated their art. But one day, I'm at a candlelight visual, and Pusha DM me, just like to roll out his first album, My Name Is My Name. And I really thought somebody was playing. I'm like, what the fuck? Cause I don't know him or nothing, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, nah, this Pusha for real. Like, I'm like, all right, cool. So we get on the call. And he was just saying he wanted to, ask me, could I be a part of the rollout? You know what I mean? Because for him, he saw me as being somebody that I made my name my name. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it was a play on the dude in the wire make that statement, but that I'm Tony Lewis Jr., but I had kind of did what I did, had kind of separated from me from just being, my dad is Tony Lewis Sr., and I now had made my name, you know? And so it fit to the rollout of the album. And so boom, we do that. So we just, that was the start of our relationship for real. We just kept in touch, you know what I'm saying? Then uh, when I did this campaign for this criminal justice reform called the 2 Point Reduction, I reached out to him to ask him could he help me for this national campaign I was trying to build, and he obliged, you know what I'm saying, and helped me. We did this writing campaign, and that 2 Point Reduction sentencing amendment thing actually happened, right? Which would help a lot of people get out of prison, or at least cut their prison sentence short. At that time, I'm thinking this gonna be the actual thing that helped me get my father out of jail. But my father they wind up denying my dad of the 2 Point Reduction. But we, not just us alone, but we were part of the advocacy, around that actually led to that happening. And so we just locked in. What he just was like, man, he never stopped checking in to see like how could he be helpful in getting my dad out. You know what I'm saying? And of course, we now building a more personal relationship, just checking on each other, see how we doing, just stuff like that. You know what I mean? And time went on, and different opportunities. Obama, you know what I'm saying? We thought we was gonna get the pardon with Obama, and that ain't happened. But I'm just taking you through this a decade of, like I said, 12, 13 years of time. But eventually it led to him. He did a song with Lauryn Hill called Coming Home. One, he shouted my father out in the song as a saying acknowledgement that he needs to be released. But the proceeds from that song went to Brittany Barnett's. Some of the proceeds went to Brittany Barnett's organization, Buried Alive Project, which helps lifers, guys like my dad, people that got nonviolent drug offenses who got life sentence. Brittany's organization represents them in court, and she's gotten so many people out of prison. That's why I call her Harriet Tubman. She's freeing folks, our folks. But anyway, so Pusha was very instrumental in my dad's freedom. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, good dude, man. And shout out to the Clips, him and Miles. You know what I'm saying? Their album came out. Let God sort him out. And I'm just happy for him and his family, and shout out to him and Mal too. They lost their parents, bro, like 4 months apart. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, just good dudes, man. And I hope God continue to bless him and his family for sure.
What was your experiences like being on a show like American Gangster?
Um, my experience with American Gangster, man, was so I was on there twice. In 2007, they reached out to me to see if they could, try to get in touch with my father or whatever. You know what I'm saying? My dad ain't that. He wasn't no parts of that. You know what I'm saying? He's just not that type of guy. Super introverted. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't trying to do nothing that, You know, he wasn't trying to do nothing to shine no light on at that point something that was old. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, and I pitched to my dad like, hey, maybe we can use this, man, to highlight what I'm doing, and then hopefully that could have some positive impact on you or how you're viewed. And he was like, nah, you know, he's like, hell no. You know what I mean? Because you can't control the variables, you know, in the production. You don't know, you know what I'm saying? But nah, I came back to him like, nah, hey, Pop, I think that this, and my thinking too was, I think it's important to talk about what I was doing, not just to say, hey, look at me, but the work we was doing, my work about in reentry. You know, back then, see, you see criminal justice reform around, and, you know what I mean, then it got trendy and all that. But in 2007, wasn't nobody talking about reentry and helping men and women come in. That was me on that national platform doing that. And so my father eventually was like, all right, he trusted my judgment on that. And so it went really well, and it was well received. And then Cornell one was in 2008. And in 2008, when the Cornell joint, that was the first time I wore, I presented Free Tony Lewis, you know what I mean, to the world. You know what I mean? That was the first time I had did that. So I wore that shirt intentionally with me and Corn walking through Hanover. They getting B-roll and they interviewing Corn about, you know, just, you know, his life. He talking to me though, you know, in on the show. But then I also, as a part of that the Cornell Jones joint, then it was my first time that I was able, I think, to present myself. In the first American Gangster, I was in my classroom teaching the class and talking about my class and talking about reentry. But in the Cornell one, I'm able to kind of give sort of some anecdotal stuff about gentrification and its impacts. And I think it helped people to start to see me as like, you know, a leader. You know what I mean? So, and what that did for me personally, like in my own life, and then I'm hanging out a lot. You know, I'm in the club, we rumbling, different little situations that was happening, and it really straightened me up in the sense that, you know, now, bro, you got people see you as this. Like, you really gotta live up to that every day. You can't be, you know, you gotta let a little bit of slug go. You know what I'm saying? So it matured me. You know, being on both of them shows, you know, it professionalized me and it matured me. Yeah, for real, that period right there is the marker. It's the thing when I really started to like accelerate, you know, because I really started to take life completely serious at that point.
So with you, you know, being from, you know, Hanover, can you talk about like how it's changed from when you was coming up to today?
Yeah, I can, man. Like, you know, I ain't been nowhere else but there. And it's you know the economic demographic, the racial demographic is there. It's still, of course, it's still remnants of the Hanover of old, for sure. But the block is incredibly different. The block is diverse. The block has professionals that live on it. Me being one of them, you know. Me and my wife, you know what I'm saying? I'm proud to say that. But yeah, it's not. It's only me and one other person that's like legacy neighbors, you know, like people that was there when it was, you know, the Hanover that we grew up in, you know what I'm saying? You know, but we work hard to try to, what has remained the same is the sense of community though. Even with all the changes, the new people, this, that, and the third, but we've maintained the same culture on the block. That if you live on this block, you know, we family. We look out for each other. So that's maintained, and that's something to be proud of. Yeah, but there's definitely, I think Hanover's always represented, or whatever was happening on Hanover was what was happening in the city. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, gentrification and, you know, all of those kind of things are very real in my community, man. And but you also see homelessness, you see drug usage, you know, and things of that, violence, you know, some of that stuff is still, again, very real in my neighborhood, you know, and that's why, again, I work so hard to try to get, particularly the Native Washingtonian, black Native Washingtonian, 55 and under, you know, stable, bro, and so they can thrive economically, so that they can be able to control their own destiny and just live safe and happy lives.
When years from now, like when your daughter ends up like reading your book, what would be something that you hope she would take away from that?
Yeah, it's interesting you asked that. My oldest is reading it now, and the power of family and what family is about, how you ride with your family, and that they'll know that they stand on the shoulders of people who did everything that they did so that they could soar. You know what I'm saying? And that it's in them to do great things. You know, it's in them to make a way that their father, their grandparents, their great grandparents, on both sides, they come from good stock. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully that there's a standard for them, that they understand that their decision making and their deposits into the world is we expect great things from them. Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, like what do you want to be said about Tony Lewis Jr. and like the impact that you had on people?
Um, that I was a warrior. Um, that my actions were about the greater good. That I cared about people, and that I help people, and I help people see that no matter what you've been through, that you can you can write your own book, if you will. You know what I'm saying? You can control your destiny. That I was proof of that.
All right then, Tony Lewis Jr. Thank you for pulling up, man. I appreciate you, man.
No doubt. Thanks for having me, champ.